Why?
It's
So, Obi,
yes, sir.
we're going to talk about your favorite topic.
It's definitely become my favorite topic recently because I just need it to happen.
It's a lot of,
Like
well, the thing is that I've been
really.
noticing there's a lot of like growth in topics about fighting games lately. Like
Oh
right
yeah.
now on Steam, you can get Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R for $3.
I
And
saw
they're
that.
testing something out. I think an online beta is going on right now. Yeah, so that's why I picked it up for $3. I should buy you a copy. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna buy you a copy. It's only $3. It's only $3. It's only $3. Stop it. It's only $3. But yeah, your topic of today is Tobal #1. Wow.
So
Yeah, it's a lot of retro
yeah,
fighting games being talked about lately.
yeah, man. I mean, it seems to be like the thing nowadays that retro is making a comeback, but not retro in that like fashion and shit like it usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, retro in that holy crap, even games are just like making a comeback as far as like that
Mm-hmm.
goes. Now, while I'm a fan of it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not a fan of it.
What?
Only because that's better.
But why?
Well, how are you gonna make me pay fucking more than like let's say 20-30 dollars for a game that I already own?
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that like if it got remastered and all this shit, so it's like yeah 30. But you know what? People are gonna look at me or like hear me say that and think like, oh, so you don't want to pay like all this much? You know how much work they do? It's like $30 with the amount of fandom that retro game has will make a lot of money.
This is true.
It will make a whole lot of money.
I agree.
Hell, I mean, look at Guilty Gear. Like right now, you just told me that they're doing it for what for the $3.
Mm-hmm.
It's
They're doing
gonna
something
make
special.
money.
Yeah, they're doing something special with it too at that.
Yep.
So it's like, why not? And I just gifted you Guilty Gear, so there you go. Oh, I know, right? It's the holiday season.
Holidays.
It's Christmas.
Christmas.
Christmas. But yeah, I start early. Once Halloween's over, I'm going straight to Christmas. I don't give a fuck. Especially this year, I'm trying to get through this year as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Fuck this year. But so
But, I mean, do you agree with what I'm saying though? I mean, like as far as that goes, like
well, I just did
the
a
pricing aspect of it.
I just did a review for Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, and I felt the same way when I played that. It's just nothing special about it. They just retouched it and made it smoother. They didn't add nothing else to it. There's like a 5-hour extra DLC coming out, but that's later on. I'm like, why don't you just add that now? And you charge them $40 for this game or $59.99 for the whole Fate edition. And here's the funny part about I can't even call this a remaster. It's not. It does. You just touch it up for HD graphics just slightly. There's still glitches in the game. It still plays the same. And plus, you didn't even change the in-game title. It still says Reckoning, not Re-Reckoning. So
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm like, what did you?
you're gonna
do?
give me better sprites. That's it. Cool. Here's a 20 or a 30.
Proper remake that only did it right so far has been Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's the only one that really did it right.
I haven't played it yet, but yes, I agree.
That's the only one. That did it right.
And the only reason why I can say that I can agree is because like I saw a lot of footage. I've seen a lot of my friends play it. I didn't get to play it yet because like I told you, and I'm gonna say this on camera, I am saving myself until I have the PS5 in my hands. Yeah. Once I get that bad boy, I will open up the floodgates about every fucking game that I've missed out since we both put in our pre-orders. That night was funny. I still can't believe it. Like, no, I'm gonna wait until like January. You know, like just wait a while, and then boom, no, here's a link. Click, done.
So
Man.
I agree. It's like this point, I'm also don't want to really ask for developers to come out with a remake or remaster. I have to say, you know what? At this point, just make a sequel. Just make a sequel. Just continue the story. That's all I say. When it comes to games like this, yeah, I get it. You got the technology now to bring a game back, but unless you're doing something as fantastic as Final Fantasy VII Remake, don't bring it back.
Right.
Don't bring it back. this is all leading to our main topic, Tobal #1, because if they do come out with a new version of Tobal, I want to say don't remake it.
Yeah, please don't remake it.
Make a sequel. Or since part 2 never came out, you can actually, I'm not going to say don't remake it. If you do remake it like you did, because this is also a Squaresoft game.
Or do a re-release. You could do a re-release of the second one.
It doesn't age well.
But by that I mean, like, remaster it, fix it up, and all that shit, and make it like a little cheapy fighting game. Because I mean, like, it wasn't like an extravagant game.
No.
But it was, you could beat that game like in one sitting.
I'll go back into why I say don't re-release it. So let's just explain people what Tobal was in the first place. So Obi, take it away. This is your baby.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, like, as far as like explaining it, I can't really get all that technical as far as like what they Square wanted it to be. But to me, Tobal #1 was a fighting game that dared to step to the side. And was like, no, we instead of following this road, we're gonna go this way. And I mean, their controls were simple, where it was a high attack, middle attack, and low attack. And by that I mean, like, punching upward, middle, or like kicking you from below. And depending on how you were directing it, it would be a certain move. Unlike Tekken, where it's like, left, right, or Street Fighter, that's like, low, medium, and fierce, or whatever.
Yeah.
They separated like the punches and the kicks. These guys, they were like, no, if you press forward and you press triangle, it's gonna be like a hard kick versus just a punch, And to me, that was actually kind of like interesting for what it was at the time. Great characters. The for what it was in PlayStation 1. For them to come out with such polished characters as far as like their look goes, not that they looked fantastic, but for that time they looked great. And that was one of the things that stuck in my head. That and the soundtrack beat out easily, to me, Tekken soundtrack. And that was at the time before Tekken 3. Tekken 3, that's when they started having better soundtracks. As far as like, let's say Street Fighter at the time, it was the Alpha series. And Alpha series had really good music because like had like that happy, jazzy, like upbeat, and that Chun-Li stage one was my favorite one. Flat out. That song, the remix, not the original one, the remix, because that game had two soundtracks. It had the original, it had the remix on it. You could turn it on. That was one of the cool things about the PS1 fighting games at the time. You actually had two background, two soundtracks in the same game. Tobal had this fantastic soundtrack, and by that I mean like it went like complete fantasy to like some really hip hop ish type to like I'm in a mine, I'm fighting in a mine, and this song feels like I am fighting in a mine. That to me was fucking great, like again at the time. And to me it still has that replayability for me because like it holds a certain piece of my mind back here, and as a fighting game fanatic as I am, I can't ever let it go. It's a great fighter that stepped out of the norm. That's what I like about it. And if they brought it back, I mean, like, I wish they brought it back. Just like I hope they bring Bloody Roar. I know you happy about that.
Well, I have to agree with
Max. But the information right now,
it's not.
Yeah, but the information right now for like, let's say Bloody Roar is so like up in the air that like, oh no, it's official. No, it's not. Oh wait, no, it is. And it's just like, and some people are like, is it going to be a pachinko machine? Like, oh god,
it's not going to be that. But either way, it's still not going to be definite that's going to come out.
Right.
So, but when it comes to Turbo, the one thing I did notice that, and I found out like recently, Akira Toriyama worked on the art design for the characters. That's the same dude that did Dragon Ball, right? Yeah, that's cool. I mean, being that it's a Square team, even the disc had a demo of Final Fantasy VII, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So this came out before Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the most interesting thing that I remember from Tobal that made it unique for a fighting game was that it was a dungeon crawler RPG fighting game.
Yeah, the RPG aspect of it. I'm not an RPG guy, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was
it
interesting.
made me want to play Final Fantasy VII. That demo was enough for me to be like, this was done right.
Tobal stepped out the box in so many ways. Yeah, it gave you a dungeon crawler, it was an RPG, and it was a fighting game all at once. Mm-hmm. And even going through the tunnels of the dungeon was actually pretty interesting because you mess up, you had to start back over again. And I never really got fully through it because my copy was corrupted, but still, it was an interesting concept for a game that we have not seen, and I felt like other games adapted to it, like Soul Calibur took some notes from that style. But we haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, well, in what way?
They did it with the side scroller first that they had on Tekken.
Well, that was a beat 'em up though. That's a beat 'em up.
Yeah, it turned into a beat 'em up, but then the later on it's like Resurrection and shit.
Yeah,
it was more like the dungeon one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was more RPG-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Soul Calibur did it like fully because you create your own character, you got to build up your stats and stuff like that. And I was like, and then you had to go through the story mode of a certain thing. It was like, that was trippy, and kind of Street Fighter Alpha 3 did it a little bit with their little where you could build your own. Like you didn't even create your character, but you could build the fighter up to make them stronger. Right. And I was like, wow. So Tobal influenced a lot of games out there.
Soul Calibur or Soul Blade, depending on how old you are. Mm-hmm. They did it from the first one, the whole like dungeon and building your character and all that, which I thought was cool. Like on their part, they just went full ham with it.
That's true.
Which to me was really, really cool the way they did it.
So, on our next topic of Tobal, if we had the opportunity to walk up into an office, Square Enix right now, and be like, hey, here's this much money, here's the script, let's make Tobal #1 come back. How would you make it different now to cater to fans?
You know what, man? Honestly, like that's, to me, it's a little bit of a hard question to answer at this very moment, only because like in my head, I've been thinking about how Tekken has been doing it with bringing in characters from other games. Mm-hmm. So, make 2 Tobal #1 characters downloadable for Tekken.
Okay.
And we're good to go.
Huh. I mean, they already got Noctis, so that is possible with Square. I mean, we also got to find out who still got the rights to it. Does Square still got the rights to Tobal? So that's another thing we got to find out. But yeah, I think that would be the best way to reintroduce characters is to bring them out into a fighting game and see how people will be interested. Because even I was thinking, if they brought out a Bloody Roar character, because somebody at Maximilian Dude's YouTube channel while he was streaming was saying, if Arc Systems worked on Bloody Roar, and I was like, but then I thought about it, like they never do a 3D fighter though, so it wouldn't really work though, because Bloody Roar till this day still stands up as a great fighting mechanics. There's no real glitches or anything like that. It's still pretty smooth as a fighter.
It's so smooth. It was so smooth.
So as beautiful as Arc System Works does their games, I don't want them to do Bloody Roar. Darkstalkers though, I wouldn't mind them doing Darkstalkers. But Bloody Roar, it has to be somebody like Bandai Namco to take care of it for 3D.
I can see Bandai Namco.
But I would actually like the fighting mechanics of Tecmo though. I like Dead or Alive fight mechanics. I don't like their practices though. Dead or Alive practices can eat a dick.
You done messed up, Tecmo.
Paying somebody to change somebody's head and change it. What is wrong with you, man?
To change it back, you gotta pay again.
Oh my god, that's so greedy in so many ways. But yeah, back to Tobal. Well, that'll be another rant from another time. But
no, if it was to be like a full-fledged game, I probably wouldn't do the dungeon anymore.
Really?
Not for Tobal.
I don't know why. It was pretty cool.
It was cool. It really, really was.
Because think about the graphics now for a dungeon with Tobal.
Oh man, it would be amazing.
I just don't want them to do Dark Souls type thing, because that Dark Souls thing is kind of huge right now.
Right. Well,
Because as an open world fighting game, that would be actually pretty dope. And I think the mechanics might be a little bit complicated though, because it wouldn't be as the graphics are a lot better now, so you can actually have your character run around easy. But then when it comes to actually meeting a character to do a duel, are they just gonna flip the script so it could be like a arena type for Tekken, and then it goes back into you running around open world?
See, now you're just making me think of how Arc Systems is doing their net play shit.
How?
Where you're like running all over the arena instead of like going through a menu system.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I'm just thinking about your character running around.
No, I know what you mean.
Because I'm thinking Dark Souls and how that world works. But then the graphics of Bandai Namco. But then when you run into an opponent, it switches to something like an arena of either Tekken or Soul Calibur. But then it goes back to the third person running around again. Yeah,
if you're doing a story mode.
Yeah.
If you're doing a story mode, that would be.
I mean, with the new next gen consoles, it's going to be probably easy for them to do something like that. So,
the beauty about Tobal or a Tobal game is that it doesn't have to be high poly count, meaning that it doesn't need to have such a big load weight on the processing or on the decompression of the game. So something like that, I mean, honestly, you can almost like think of that, what we were just saying about the game, right? And that mechanic, but not make it cell shaded like they did Streets of Rage, but something similar in that you're walking around, you're doing things, you're doing a beat 'em up, but then you get to like the actual fighter that you would otherwise be able to pick in the fighting game version of it. That's when it goes whoop to like a different scene, and now you're like a side to side 2-player fighting game like in Tekken.
Let's try to close this out. We talked about a lot. So with Tobal, so far there's no information about it. We're not saying that we have found some holy grail on the internet that's saying that it might be returning. No, it's just our own pretty feelings, because I got Tobal number 1 and 2 as well, and then Obi just mentioned it, and it was just like, yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So in a what if scenario where the world is perfect and things can happen like this, I think Tobal would make a great addition in the next generation consoles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if Akira Toriyama comes back as a designer. And with the nice upgrades that we got now. And no, I guess because since it looks like an anime, Arc System Works could work on an engine for it, but it has to be their first 3D game. Sucker Punch could probably work on something, because they actually did a great job. And hear me out. Technically, Ghost of Tsushima is a fighter in a way. Especially because it has some For Honor elements to it. But it plays better to me than For Honor. So if they would have worked on Tobal, that would be interesting. But I don't know. It's just me just blowing smoke out of nowhere. But what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is that whether they make it a DLC to an X16 fighting game or a full game, I would really appreciate it. Only because it's such an odd, well, for lack of better wording, I use odd. It's such an odd fighting game that should have had more popularity because of what it was. And I think it still has a chance, especially if you're gonna try to bring a new-ish IP into like the next gen world. Tobal number 1 will be fucking fantastic.
We gotta make it happen. We gotta make it happen somehow. There has to be a way. Make it popular again.
The way.
Yeah, it is the way. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of resurrection, a lot of fighting games. But let's hear from you, the occult out there. I want to hear your positives. I want to hear your negatives. I want to hear whatever you got to say. and let's discuss this. Let's be open about this. Let's hear what you got to say. Let's talk about these things. If you got a game that you would like to see resurrected, fighting game, whatever, let's bring it out discussion. See if we can make it popular, whatever. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that dislike button. Hit that notification bell. Hit all the things. You see buttons, you hit that damn thing. You just
all
do
the
it.
Things.
All the things.
Like punch it, kick it, like Mortal Kombat.
Tatsumaki Senpuku in it. I almost bit my tongue saying that damn thing. But yo, we'll check you later next time. This has been Obi, and I've been Kuma. And as always, Beast out.
Moo.
Moo.